Together, we can inspire and empower the next generation.
Catch the Friends of Trestle Park Summer Concert Series on the waterfront in Prudenville. Brought to you by Q100 Michigan and Up North Sports Radio. Bring a lawn chair and refreshments and enjoy the live music from Kate Rose and the Thorns. Thursday, June 13th at 7 p.m. Trestle Park is on the waterfront at M18 and M55 in Prudenville. Go to Q100Michigan.com for all the details and a complete concert schedule. Or follow Friends of Trestle Park on Facebook. Kate Rose and the Thorns. Thursday, June 13th.
Good morning, Northern Michigan. Welcome to Up North Sports Radio's Friday Faceoff, brought to us by Cherry Capital Airport TVC. Jerry Coyne, Rich Calkins live in studio. Rich, last week we were bemoaning the Tigers in a slump, and we must be way better motivators than we know, because they go out and take 2 series on the road against the Boston Red Sox and the defending World Series champion Texas Rangers. Some unbelievably good pitching.
It really has been. Obviously, the hitting's been pretty much struggling all year long, but the one thing you can rely on with this team is really good starting pitching. And it just continues. Like you said, they had a 4-game series in Boston. They took 2 of those games, a true split, the first and the last game. We'll take it. Playing in that bandbox, as you know, JC, anything can happen.
No doubt.
It usually does. And so it's really a tough place to play after you've been playing in spacious Comerica Park, and you go to there and everything's crazy. But then they take the first 2 out of 3 against Texas, in Texas. And, man, I tell you, they're 31-31. They keep hanging in there.
Yep.
What are they going to do? Trade deadline's over a month away, blah, blah, blah. But it's certainly going to prove interesting as Reese Olson takes the hill tonight. And, as we know, his record, he's got 1 win and 6 losses, but his ERA is great.
Yeah, he's in the top 5 in ERA in the American League. He had only given up 1 home run. He gave up 2 in Boston, but they were both pesky pull, cheapies.
Take him to 220 feet down the line or something. I know it's not that, but it's ridiculously short.
Yeah, there's no cheap home runs at Comerica Park, that's for sure. They've got the Brewers tonight for the next 3 games. The Brewers are leading the National League Central Division right now. They're actually facing a really good pitcher tonight.
Yeah, Peralta.
Yeah.
Yes, he's got a really good.
Freddie Peralta.
1.05 whip. So that'll work.
Yeah, the Brewers have been surprising. They lost their manager, they left the Brewers and went down the road to the Cubs for a lot more money, and the Brewers lost 2 of their better players, but they've been playing pretty good baseball. So. Good for them, but they've got to come into Comerica Park and face the Tigers. When I looked last, they have the 5th best starting pitching staff in all of baseball.
Hey, that'll work, man. I tell you, if they could just get that hitting, you know what I mean? I know they continue, and they
get some really good timely hit. I mean, that's the difference. Really, when you boil it down to the losing streak that they went on. And then this new winning streak. They've won 8 of their last 12 games. So, and they have the occasional offensive barrage where they get 7 runs, 9 runs, but generally speaking, and it's not generally, they have won more one-run games than any team in baseball.
That's exactly right.
So and a lot of it has to do with some timely hitting. A.J. Hinch managing that lineup, whether it's the bullpen or his pinch hitters.
Yeah, he does. He manages the game better than any manager I've seen. I don't pay attention, of course, to all the managers and how they dictate, but you really notice how A.J. Hinch manages a game.
He's got his game plan. If you listen, folks, every day here on Up North Sports Radio, your home for Detroit Tiger baseball in northern central Michigan. They have the 10-minute A.J. Hinch show before the game. and he breaks down what happened in the game before and what they're looking at. This coaching staff, led by A.J. Hinch, plans every single thing.
Yeah,
and when you hear him talk about, righties, lefties, and sometimes he doesn't follow that because their trends are better.
Yeah, they have like reverse splits.
And plus he knows what's happening with the other team.
That's exactly right. How they're going to defend them and how,
how they're going to bring up their pinch hitters.
Yes.
He's like, well, I was certain that Smith was going to come in, and so I kept my lefty in there to get one more out. He is unbelievable.
It is. I know. It's just so far advanced. And what you just, people that watch baseball and just take it for face value, it's so much more in depth. I mean, he's playing.
Well, I don't even know if it's that much more. Yeah.
He's playing chess.
Yeah, he sees the whole field from the beginning of the game to the end. Occasionally a fly will end up in the ointment, like when Maeda throws 3 pitches and he's out of the game.
And he's out, and you're like, oh, no.
That certainly led to the 9-1 loss. Foley's got to come in. And they do give, when there's an injury, they give a relief pitcher as much time as necessary. But they're not ready to go.
Mentally, you're still out there you're out there in the pen telling jokes with your teammates. You're
not getting up until the 6th inning.
That's exactly right. And so next thing you know, hey, we need you now. You're like, you jump up, and all of a sudden you start stretching and doing. You're like, whoa, this is so.
Get in there, Gretzky.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all right. I'm good. but that little bit of an injury bug is a little concerning. You mentioned it, the Maeda thing. Who knows really what's good. Flaherty left his game a little early because of it.
He said his back tightened up a little bit, but he said, I'm good to go. I think he's supposed to pitch on Sunday.
He's so that's I think because there's 2 days. I think he's pitching after Monday.
No, you're right. He is. He's
he was
pitching Tuesday.
Get 2 days off because of scheduling. They had yesterday off, and then they're scheduled, I believe, to have Monday off.
Yeah.
And so that way was going to give him
You're
rest.
absolutely right, Rich.
And so that way he like you said, he feels he'll definitely be back because he's pitching great. I mean, Flaherty
has been great.
Lights lights out.
Yeah, those two guys have anchored. Casey Mize has been a hit and miss.
Right.
Like you said, Freddie Peralta versus Reese Olson tonight at 6:40. Saturday, it's a later game, 4:10 in the afternoon. JJ and his wife are going to that game.
Oh, great.
Yeah. It's Radio Affiliate Day.
Oh,
so,
excellent.
Yeah,
Good.
so they get to go down there. I thought I'd be in Colorado, but I'm not,
okay.
or I would be going. You son of a JJ taking my free Tiger tickets and they give you food and you get to meet Tigers. It's they really do a nice job. And then Sunday, if you want to see Tarek Skubal pitch in person, they're at 1:40 down at beautiful Comerica Park.
And Terry Skubal, Major League Power Rankings for starting pitchers, they rank Terry Skubal the #1 ranked pitcher right now.
Well, that is a serious pitching matchup because Jared Koenig is pitching for the Brewers. He's 5-1 with a 1.95 ERA. Take the under on Sunday.
That's exactly right.
I got both of those games right in the first 2 Texas games. On Bet of the Day, I told them to take the under and the Tigers win. And if you parlayed that, they were a plus 240. So I got all 3 games to the right. I had a funny feeling they would bounce back and be the opposites on Thursday, and that turned out to be true as well. Wednesday.
They won, 2-1, 3-1, and so
then lost 9-1.
And then got the smoke.
I guess. AJ took it a little bit easy on them because of Maeda's injury, but that would have been a situation where Jim Leyland would have gone, I'm very disappointed with the team because it's a getaway day and they weren't focused.
Right. It's like they were already away. And
hey, we already won the series.
Yep.
So they just lost focus. Part of me was surprised that Hinch didn't come out and say that. but I think a lot of it really had to do with the fact that Maeda, that was kind of like the linchpin.
And I think Leland knew. I mean, he had more of a veteran team and did that. I think what he's, AJ Hinch is maybe coddling this team a little bit more with some of the youth. And once I think you'll see him change if he really notices it, and as they mature as baseball players, I think you'll see him light them up a little bit
Well,
more.
like we said, they've got the Brewers this weekend, and they got the Nationals. They're off, so I don't want to put our carts before the horse. Hopefully, they can get 2 out of 3 against Milwaukee. Worst case scenario, they got to win 1. They can't get swept.
No.
But the Brewers and the Tigers actually look a lot alike on paper.
Yeah. I mean, when you got in that series, like you said, you're with Reese Olson, and then you got Tarek Skubal on a Sunday. You do expect to win those games.
Yeah, but it's kind of a hodgepodge the rest of June. So they go to Houston, who has been massively disappointing so far.
Unbelievable.
And then they go from Houston to Atlanta, which they're a pretty good baseball team, although they just lost Ronald Acuna Jr. So
yes.
I don't know what that means. But then they get to have the White Sox at home, who are on pace to have the absolute worst season in baseball history. They're projected, Rich, to win 67 games.
67. They're
67 and
their players are literally fighting mad now. See that one guy he wanted to fight because
he wanted to fight his teammates.
Yeah, exactly. He's willing to fight a fan. He's willing to fight anybody. They've lost 14 in a row, JC.
They played their crosstown rivals, the Cubs, and they were leading all 3 games in that series and lost them in the 8th or 9th.
North
inning.
side versus the south side.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So we get the White Sox at home, and then the best team in baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies come in right after that. So you might want to take a look at getting it. It's too bad it's not a weekend series.
Yeah, no question. That 44-win Philadelphia. That right now, if you had them and the Yankees.
Nick Castellanos has all of a sudden caught fire for them.
Once again.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was a good hitter when he left the Tigers, and he's only gotten better with the Phillies.
So, it's like I said, the Tigers keep tantalizing us. If you like pitching, Dan Dickerson describes it quite nicely on Up North Sports Radio.
He sure does. Yeah, he's great to listen to. He really does. I mean, the Cleveland Guardians, hard to say that, but 40-21. I mean, nobody saw this. All of the experts in baseball and stuff, nobody.
Well, they got a brand
this.
new manager on top of that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know who the guy is.
I don't either. I have no idea. And so it's just like it's unbelievable what they continue to put out on that baseball field.
Yeah. They beat the Royals, who are smoking hot.
Smoking hot.
Yep.
They have cooled off a little. They've only won 3 of their last 10. The Royals have, so that's
good. We're going to catch up a little bit there,
yes.
and the Twins have getting slaughtered by the Yankees, which is good because we got slaughtered by the Yankees.
That's right. Yeah, they've lost 3 in a row, so the Twinkies have. But we need those teams ahead of us to lose a little bit. Tigers to continue on this pace, and the good things will be we won't be traders at the trade deadline.
Yeah, we'll see if there's
nice to accrue.
It would be nice to get a professional hitter in this lineup.
Amen to that.
And the best thing is that if they're traded at the deadline, there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll like the AJ Hinch style of baseball, and but it would be so ideal to get a young Miguel Cabrera, like the Tigers did back when they traded for him.
No one expected
with the Marlins.
that to happen.
Yeah.
And that kind of came out of nowhere. You're like, we got a guy who is super young yet, and it did come with some things off the field that he was dealing with, but they were able to manage that and get through all of that. On the baseball field was incredible.
Yep. So again, first pitch 6:40 tonight on Up North Sports Radio. We'll be back after these words from our fine partners on Up North Sports Radio's Friday Faceoff, brought to us by Cherry Capital Airport. It's time for Destination NH.
It's time to fly. Start your next comfortable, convenient journey from Northern Michigan's hometown airport, Cherry Capital Airport in Traverse City. TVC makes your trip easier with affordable terminal-adjacent parking and all the friendly airport services without all the crowds. Fly from Cherry Capital Airport to your dream destination on Allegiant, American, Delta, Sun Country, and United. Visit tvcairport.com and fly with TVC. Cherry Capital Airport in Traverse City.
Who knew? Fresh air is a destination, a place to breathe in the lapping waves of Torch Lake and explore the tree-lined trails of northern Michigan. A place to connect with nature and each other, one-on-one, in the waves, woods, and wonder of Bel Air. When you're looking to escape the everyday, breathe in the magic of northern Michigan at Shanty Creek Resort in Bel Air and online at shantycreek.com.
Vote in the Traverse City Record Eagles Simply the Best Reader's Choice Contest for 2024. Help your favorite businesses, organizations, and professionals in Northern Michigan earn their well-deserved recognition as Simply the Best. Vote every day through July 31st. Winners announced via our virtual award ceremony on the Record Eagles page on Facebook at 7 p.m. September 25th and in our special Simply the Best winners publication that day. Enter now at record-eagle.com/simplythebest.
Welcome back to Friday Faceoff on Up North Sports Radio, brought to us by Cherry Capital Airport. We'll have Destination MLB here in a couple minutes, and we have the new promotion that we're doing, the TVC Tiger Takeoff, Rich.
Excellent.
Yes, if you go to q100michigan.com, you can register to win airline tickets from Cherry Capital Airport to Minneapolis on Sun Country. It's a 4-day trip. We give you hotel rooms for all those days, and Tiger tickets to see the Tigers and the Twins play at Target Field on Wednesday. The hotel is right next to Mall of America. And you get a $100 gift card to spend somewhere at the Mall of America or at the ballpark. So
and then from what I understand, Mall of America, it'll entertain you all day long.
Well, your wife would know something about that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes, she goes up to Minneapolis, St. Paul quite a bit for work, and so just really cool city, that whole Minneapolis, St. Paul area. Pretty incredible, especially in the summertime. It's a great time to get away. Traverse City, Cherry Capital Airport, TVC is making it easy.
There we go. I told you we'd have Kevin Klein on, and here he is joining us with Destination MLB. Kevin, all our good wishes, brought some Tigers victories last week.
Hey, they had an awesome week. We keep fighting. Hopefully, this next homestand, we put the fight back in our game. I mean, come on, we're actually getting some hits.
Yeah, we're getting great pitching, and we've got pitching coming up on the road. The next visits I see are to Houston, Atlanta, and then out in L.A. at the end of June.
Yeah, you got some great numbers going into Houston. 362 for that round trip. A little over $400 for Atlanta. L.A., 407. Then getting into July, you still have that Minneapolis at 118. Cincinnati, 353. Let's not forget about the All-Star break. I hope we have some good All-Stars playing this year. 441. And then as you look into August, Sun Country. This is a little bit different, connecting through Minneapolis on Sun Country. 539 to Seattle, 385 to San Francisco for that.
Well, now there's a trip. Now, you and I might host you in San Francisco, my old stomping grounds. That's a beautiful ballpark, one of the best cities in America, and that's pretty cheap to get to San Francisco.
If you're hosting me, I am in. Let's get those tickets right now. I'm ready to go.
Rich and I were talking while we were trying to get a hold of you. You could go to see the Tigers play the Twins for free. All you got to do is go to Q100 Michigan and register for our TVC Tiger Takeoff.
Oh, it's going to be a great trip. Great trip. You've got, Sun Country taking you nonstop to get you there. You've got some spending cash. You got some hotel stuff. It's awesome. All awesome stuff.
Yeah, you're there for the 1st through the 4th, flying back out on Friday the 5th. The hotel is right next to Mall of America, and you got the ball and a free Tigers game to go to. So, and Minneapolis is a great modern city. There's a lot of cool things to do.
Well, being next to the Mall of America, I don't know if everybody's gone, but there's roller coasters inside that mall. So, you know what? That's a great trip to have, not only these Tigers, but just the Mall of America itself. Yeah,
and Rich just handed me a note, Kevin Klein from Cherry Capital Airport, that the Tigers are 17-16 on the road. So, you got a really good chance of seeing some winning some Tiger baseball games on the road as you check them out of Cherry Capital Airport.
Absolutely. TVCAirport.com is how you get to it.
All right, Kev, thanks a lot. We'll check in with you next week. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
There you go, Rich.
Yeah, in every broadcast that you either watch or listen to, the Tiger fans are well represented at all parts. The Old English D is all through ballparks.
Yep, and maybe you can be one of those fans that go up to the broadcast. But that's what I used to do. I don't.
Oh,
you
no
don't
kidding.
hear that anymore. But because Ernie
Right.
used to mention that all the time. Jerry Coyne stopped by the booths and
Yeah,
wanted to say hello to his parents.
Exactly.
And
that's amazing.
I did that all 4 years that I lived in San Francisco. I would make sure and see the Tigers when they played at Oakland.
Okay.
And because it would save me a long distance phone call. Send money.
Yes, exactly. We got a note here. Jerry says to send money.
Send money. Jerry, I loaned Jerry $20. Jerry Coyne Sr., please pay me when I get back home. We mentioned that there wasn't a lot of news out of Lions camp. That changed this week.
It did. There's
disconcerting that Hendon Hooker's not really picking it up so much.
Yeah. Again, he missed all of training camp, of course, last year, still recovering from that ACL that he tore at Tennessee. And so this is his first camp, per se. And I think you'll see him progress as training camp officially starts at late July.
Well, you'll find out if the Lions are worried about it because as we're in camp, you might hear them taking a look at signing a veteran backup.
Mm-hmm. Of course, they did go the Nate Sudfeld route again.
I don't want Nate Sudfeld taking any step.
We saw him at Indiana. We saw him in college, right?
There's a few guys out there, that have potential to, in case we need it.
Yeah, it's always good to have a veteran backup.
But
sure.
Again, we've talked about this. Last year was a concern. But Jared Goff plays most of his games.
He does.
He knows, he's not mobile, which I think in the long run has kind of kept him healthy.
Yeah, agreed. He knows what his limitations are, and taking those big hits, getting outside the pocket there, is not beneficial to a long career.
What I read through the tea leaves, and I know you follow it better than I do, Rich, is that they're really happy with the D-line.
They are. Yeah, you're seeing the Aleem McNeils,
right,
and guys like that.
Okariza, or however you pronounce.
Yeah, they're really coming together, and they're because again are you going to sign more defensive linemen? Are you going to sign another defensive end to match up with Hutch, on the one side, and have a bookend tight or defensive ends that can rush the. They said so far they like what they have seen, and. So one thing, DJ Reader, one of their free agent signees.
Still not healthy.
Yeah, not healthy, and he may even miss a week or two of training camp when that starts. But they do expect him to be ready during the regular season. But yeah, the JMO news continues to impress. And one of the guys that you like is the Isaiah Williams, the kid. Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from the wide receiver from Illinois. Him and another guy do the Amon-Ra St. Brown post-practice, taking over 100 balls off the jugs gun and catching the ball every single practice. So that's good to hear that, You know, that's the thing. That's what a good locker room will create.
The other thing that is, and I didn't notice this until I started reading some of the dispatches out of the mini camp, is that the Lions signed Terrell Williams as a defensive line coach this year.
Yes.
And he is widely considered one of the 3 or 4 best defensive line coaches.
Yes.
He's in the league. And there's a lot of anticipation that this is going to help the Lions. I know that they've been working on the technique with the kid that they signed from Canada.
Oh, yes.
Who was what's had 17.5 sacks in the Canadian League.
Right.
One of the other things that I'm reading through the tea leaves, what's the name of the field goal kicker for the Michigan Panthers?
Oh, yeah. I talked about him.
Is it Bates or
Bates is one.
Bates or Betts?
Yeah, it could be one of the guys there. But the Turner kid that they signed, undrafted free agent from Michigan, has kicked better than the Lions kicker so far in practice. You know, there is going to be serious competition. Yeah, the Michigan Panthers are in the playoffs, so they can't negotiate yet.
Right.
With the
Jake Bates.
Jake Bates, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's cooled off a little bit after hitting those big bombs early in the season.
I haven't watched a lot of USFL. It's called the USL now.
Yeah,
it's called the USL now.
Because it's combined.
Or UFL.
They
United Football League. They
both
combined USFL and the other
Yeah.
XFL. But I did watch the second half of the Panthers-Stallions game, who are going to play again for the playoffs.
Right.
I think it's Saturday. It's either Saturday or Sunday.
Right.
And the football was better than I thought.
Okay.
But so the Panthers were winning 19-12, and the Stallions got the ball with 2 minutes and 10 seconds left to go, and they just drove right down the field and got the touchdown and got the 2-point conversion to lose the game.
Okay. That
would have brought them, the playoff game would have been in at Ford Field. So they're playing it. That was for home field advantage in the playoffs. They both had this similar.
Oh, is that
record.
right?
Yeah, and actually the crowds at Ford Field have been pretty good, Rich. They've been averaging like 11,000, 12,000 fans at Ford Field. So
exactly, that's it's hard to get used to midsummer football and all of that, but I was back in the first go round of the USFL.
I know.
I went to games at the Silver Dome. I went to playoff. I was.
They got good crowds at the Silver Dome.
Yeah,
that's when the Lions really stunk.
It was exactly.
But they had, you had Anthony Carter and
Bobby Hebert.
Hey, Hebert had a couple of really good seasons for the Saints.
He did. He parlayed that to an NFL.
He was a good quarterback.
Yeah, he played.
And they won the inaugural, not the inaugural, the second USL season.
Yeah.
My buddy Mike Kennedy made a Michigan Panthers poster that he ended up selling like 10,000, 12,000 Michigan Panther posters.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. He's still got a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, well, he
should have put them back online.
Yeah, they've got, they had some star appeal, the league in itself, by signing, Herschel Walker.
Yeah,
they
there's
got some
no
big
stars, and the closest thing to a star that I can see in the UFL is A.J. McCarron, who coached Alabama. He's not with the Stallions. He's with one of the other teams, the team that won it all last year.
Okay.
So, but yeah, if you want to see something, you might be interested in it.
Right.
I'm surprised you haven't watched.
I watched a little bit. I've surfed through it, watched it for a few minutes, and then kind of moved on.
I mean, it was I wasn't interested in the golf that was on, so I'm like, oh, I'll watch this, and hey, the Panthers are winning. Oh, the Panthers lost. So.
But like you said, they did make the playoffs, so that's a good thing or a bad thing, but like you said, again, once they're done with their season, then negotiations can start.
I don't know if there'll probably be a couple people interested in Bates' services.
Yeah, I'm sure. He's going to go to the highest bidder, I'm sure.
Yeah. But the other NFL news, obviously, Justin Jefferson
signed a whopper.
Got some money.
How about that LSU, that team that they've Chase, Jefferson, and Joe Burrow at quarterback? You figure out why they won a national championship.
No, it was because Coach.
Yeah,
What was
it was, yeah.
Who got fired?
Go Tigers.
Yeah. Most of the mini camps are wrapping up. I'm surprised there wasn't as much. I guess the news. I think we talked about it last week. Is that the Bears are going to be on Hard Knocks?
They are.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that'll be. I'll watch a few episodes for sure, and if it entertains me, I'll watch the whole thing.
This just in. Calkins watching Hard Knocks. I like it. When, obviously Rich and I were talking about this a few years ago, and the first time I watched Hard Knocks, I think you watched every season.
I have.
Yeah, you're just weird.
I know.
But the first Hard Knocks season I watched is when who was the guy from the Steelers went to the Raiders? The malcontent wide receiver from Central Michigan.
Yeah. Geez.
He and Gruden had some interesting.
He
that was a good Hard Knocks.
It was
season.
entertaining as heck because he couldn't he couldn't find a helmet he liked because they were getting rid of. The old
God, it was
I
crazy.
remember the drama around that. You're like, oh my God.
But Gruden was great.
He was.
I don't know if he'll ever get another job.
Right.
Maybe he's a little too old now to be considered. Yeah. But man, he got screwed. I don't know what happened with his lawsuit. Yeah. With the NFL and all of that.
He was collateral damage in
the Washington Redskins.
Yes.
Sexual harassment case. I don't know what.
Looking into the
somebody,
owner
something popped up on a text, and somebody decided that we don't want Gruden in the league anymore.
Hey, Gruden's a big name. Let's see what he's got here. And they investigate all of his stuff. They're like, oh. There's some emails here that were sent.
I'm surprised the Raiders didn't sue the league. If it was Al Davis instead of Mark Davis, they would have sued the league.
Yeah.
Because Al liked to sue the NFL.
Oh, he sure did. He was in court with the league, it seemed like forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
But, things will go backwards for foot. I don't know. This has been bizarre. Very briefly, Rich. The NFL has been great at always keeping relevant.
Yes.
But, even with the announced schedule and some of this stuff, it's been surprisingly little talk.
Yeah.
Especially with, we didn't have NBA playoffs or NHL playoffs for like 6 days. You figured the NFL would have cooked, get some story going in there.
Yes.
But
it is shocking because they usually don't miss any opportunity to put the NFL out front and center because to them, any publicity is good publicity.
Well, they always know how to overcome bad publicity.
Oh, they do.
But that was shocking to me. I was waiting, for where's the story? And McAfee was off this week because of the College World Series. And
yes.
So, I miss my NFL fix.
McAfee did have a statement when the Caitlin Clark thing, he called her the B word, but he didn't use it in a...
No, he meant it like she's a tough...
Yes, it wasn't a derogatory...
You could say bitch on the radio.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
But he did. He said
he meant it like, she's a dog.
Yes, exactly.
And they didn't want... And that's why he changed it, because if you watch the McAfee show, they say, he's a dog... he gets the whole group guys going, an absolute dog.
Yes.
That's one of you either like or hate the show, the Pat McAfee show. Rich and I are both huge fans of the program.
And they have so many people on their crew.
Yeah.
They're set there. And, of course, they're different fans of different teams. And the one guy that sits in the back is a Lions fan.
Yeah, no, I love the show. I missed it this week. I think they probably knew it was a mandatory week off because there's quite a few college baseball games.
Yeah, there are, exactly. girls softball champ was crowned last night. Again, Oklahoma, 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, think about those girls that showed up on campus as freshmen and used their eligibility. They've won a national championship.
4
every
rings,
single
baby.
year.
That's UCLA basketball territory.
It is, yep.
We will be back after these words from our fine partners on Up North Sports Radio, brought to us by Cherry Capital Airport, TVC. It's time for you to fly and go to Q100 Michigan to register for the TVC Tiger Takeoff.
Sports on the Michigan News Network.
There was some good news and bad news for the Detroit Lions as they wrapped up minicamp on Thursday. First of all, cornerback Khalil Dorsey, who was carted off the field on Wednesday, only has a minor ankle injury, this according to head coach Dan Campbell. However, Campbell also said it's not clear whether or not nose tackle DJ Reader will be ready for the start of the regular season due to a lingering injury, and they said this was not unexpected. He also anticipates everyone else should be ready to go for the start of training camp. Lions and more OTAs scheduled for June 10th to the 12th. For young players only, veterans are excused. Tigers in action tonight at Comerica Park. They host the first-place Milwaukee Brewers. It begins at 6:40 and 97 when the ticket. Reese Olson going for Detroit. Milwaukee 36-26 and in first place in the NL Central. Jeff Lesson for the Michigan News Network.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Friday Faceoff on Up North Sports Radio, brought to us by Cherry Capital Airport. But at this time of day, we usually talk to Lindsay Southwell at Shanty Creek, but she's busy answering the phone calls that are coming in right now because they have announced at Shanty Creek a stay-and-play golf deal that you will not believe. From June 28th to July 10th, you can play 90 holes of golf for $90 when you lodge at Shanty Creek. This is an insane offer. If you're a golfer, you need to hop on to shantycreek.com. Cedar River, Hawkseye, the Legend, Shush Mountain, the Summit, all for $90. It's a perfect to fit a staycation over the holidays for less. They're also going to have their world-famous fireworks display happening on July 3rd, so you can get your staycation, Rich.
Right.
I don't know why I'm wearing my headphones.
Because you're so used to talking to her on the phone.
That's right. I'm like, Jesus, what am I doing? Rich is like nodding at me. Take your headphones off. But you got all those great buffets, the breakfast buffet, the prime rib buffet on Saturday, and the fireworks on July 3rd. And, you know, they've got a great pool area, indoor and outdoor swimming facilities. You got the golf.
If you bring the family, like you said, they can swim, they could do this. The weather's going to be awesome. And to be able to play those courses for that price is amazing.
And right downtown, you've got Shorts, which is just so much fun to go to. And right next to it, when I was down there for Shorts' 20th anniversary, I played golf at Shanty Creek, and then I went over to Shorts. They were having a great time. I never noticed before, but they also have a Mammoth Distillery tasting room there, which is really nice. So there's a lot going on in downtown Bel Air, right around the corner from Shanty Creek. Of course, they got 4 great restaurants at Shanty Creek.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, my wife and I went there one time. Went to Shorts, went to the little cafe on the corner right there where you turn to go to Shorts.
Yep.
Had an excellent lunch there. So yeah, Bel Air is a nice little place.
Nice little town,
yes.
And you cannot beat those rates. Golfers, head to shantycreek.com. I've already played there twice. The courses are in magnificent shape. I noticed that people are starting to talk about college football.
They are.
You heard the news that Nick Saban is going to be part of the College Game Day crew, right?
Yes, I did hear that.
I wasn't surprised. But
No, he's got to do something. Nick is still.
Well, I thought he was going to go save college football.
Yeah, be the the commissioner of college football or the El Papa Grande, whatever. Something is needed. We need some parameters.
Yep.
Because we may lose another college basketball coach. Go to the NBA.
Danny Hurley is being courted by the L.A. Lakers.
He's on a plane right now out to L.A.
Yeah, that story broke yesterday, and that'll be interesting. I thought J.J. Redick was going to get that job.
I thought it was a foregone conclusion.
It looked that way, but maybe the Lakers. I don't know what Hurley will be like in pros.
Yeah. He's, he's super intense, and those guys in college that are super intense, and if they bring that same thing to the NBA, it usually doesn't work.
Well, there's only been one college coach that's won an NBA championship. That's Larry Brown. Okay, so but Larry used to go back and forth to college and pro all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But he coached 7 NBA teams and 3 college programs. So
yeah.
Larry's a unique animal.
He is.
Billy Donovan's done okay, but like Rick Pitino had to get out, Calipari had to get out. They had to go back to college. It's tough coaching the pros. I guess one thing that I read about this that probably, I don't know if LeBron said it to the Brain Trust, but he loves the way Hurley's offenses run.
Mm-hmm.
And he has, those Connecticut teams are great defensively and great offensively, and they haven't had superstars.
Yeah,
so
exactly. He gets the most out of the talent he has.
So, and you're talking about a lot of money. You look at the contract that Monty Williams signed.
Yes.
And who else just got a huge? Ty Lue from the Clippers.
The other team.
$11 million or yeah, that's
Right.
I don't care what Hey, Bobby Hurley's making like $5.5 million.
You more than double it.
If the Lakers want him bad enough, they can pay him whatever they want.
Right.
There is no salary cap on coaching.
Not at all.
So it wouldn't be surprising to hear. And I know Hurley wants a 10-year, $150 million contract.
Oh, wow.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, that would, because in a day and age when you see NBA coaches rotated through year in, year out and stuff, good. If he gets it, good for him.
There's still some talk. I don't know what Trajan Langdon is going to do with the Pistons.
Right.
But there is talk that they would eat Monty Williams' contract.
Yes.
Which is just, I know there's a lot of money in the NBA, now with the television contracts and everything else, even though nobody was going to the Pistons games.
No.
I think they averaged less than 10,000 people a game. I think I haven't seen the stats, but I can't imagine a team that had worse attendance than the Pistons this year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you had the fewest wins. You didn't give a lot of incentive for people to want to go down to Little Caesars Arena, and on the opposite thing, the Wings, you were highly motivated to go to games because they were they played pretty solid hockey for most of the year.
Speaking of the NBA, the first NBA Finals game was played last night. Boston played some ridiculously good defense.
They did, and that boost of Porzingis coming in off the bench was just—it's his first game he's played. What, a month and a half or something? It's like, and you notice that 3-point stroke, JC? When he leaves that
it's
right
a push.
foot, and he leaves that
it's
right
a push.
And his stance is not square to the basket.
No,
it's this way with the right.
He
foot
pushes
forward.
it. Yep.
It's a real unique.
He makes a lot of them.
It does. It works.
He played great defense. The whole team played great defense. Kyrie Irving's going to have to play a hell of a lot better.
He is.
But the reason why I talk about the defense is because, Dallas can score the ball, and Luka Doncic had 30 points, but he only had 1 assist.
Yeah.
And, he likes to dominate the ball, but he gets his other players involved, and the Celtics never double-teamed him.
Yeah.
So there was nobody to pass the ball to.
Right. Yeah. You take away the passing lanes. I saw him get his pocket picked a couple times.
Yep.
There, but that was just good defense by Boston.
Yep.
And
Jaylen Brown played excellent defense on him.
He sure did.
Dallas, we'll see what happens. The next game is Sunday.
Yeah.
And the Celtics have been traditionally really bad in game 2s at home. We'll see how Jason Kidd and the Mavericks react to what they had. They got a couple days to figure it out.
Exactly. All the adjustments that'll be made.
Yeah.
And that's what makes these basketball games so great. Is you watch the first game, then you see a different team in that second game. The adjustments that they'll make.
But a lot of people who know more about professional basketball than I do said that if Porzingis comes back and can be, 90%, 85, 90%, it's really going to make it difficult for Dallas because the spacing is different offensively and defensively.
Okay.
And that's what was borne out in the game last night. And so I don't know what adjustments can be made.
Yeah, exactly. And we've talked about Boston here.
I mean,
for
they're
months
going to have
now.
to make and Boston lives and dies on the 3-point shot. Right. So they shot the ball extraordinarily well yesterday.
Yeah, they're going to be really tough to beat if they shoot it like that for sure. But
and Dallas shoots, what were they, 3 for 20?
Oh, it was brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. Yeah, what did they make? 16 or 18 threes is what Boston made.
And Dallas made 3.
Yeah, so it's just, I mean,
that's a little out of whack.
You're not overcoming that.
No.
I don't care what you do.
No.
On the other end, but no, it's as we've talked about with Boston though. Every once in a while they throw a clunker out there.
Yep.
And they'll just even on their home court they'll be like, well, what the heck? So it's not over by any means.
Oh no.
I mean, so I'm not saying you're saying it, but it's Dallas. They have some firepower, so they can rally back in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, they did rally back. They cut it to 8 in the third quarter, and then Boston turned around and scored the next 16 points, and and pretty much the game was over.
Yeah, they kind of used up every bit of it, trying to, how hard it is to come back like that. But then do you have enough left in the tank to continue?
Well, it's going to benefit Dallas that they have a little bit lengthier schedule. Mm-hmm. They're not playing every other night.
Right.
So there it is.
Is Joey?
Joe from the Spanish La Liga report here on Friday Faceoff. Hola, Joe.
Joe. Hola.
Hola. How about Real Madrid? A big UEFA championship. Are they still celebrating in Madrid?
Yes, they are. And with the signing of Kylian Mbappe, it's looking good next year as well.
Mbappe.
Okay, well, thank you for that report. And we'll check in with you next week here on Friday Faceoff.
There we go.
There you
Joe
go.
Is our third
Keith
man
Gabe,
in.
I hope you got a smile on your face.
Right. Joe is always our third man in.
With that, we'll go to break here on Up North Sports Radio's Friday Faceoff, brought to us by Cherry Capital Airport, TVC.
Who knew? Fresh air is a destination, a place to breathe in the lapping waves of Torch Lake and explore the tree-lined trails of northern Michigan. A place to connect with nature and each other, one-on-one, in the waves, woods, and wonder of Bel Air. When you're looking to escape the everyday, breathe in the magic of northern Michigan at Shanty Creek Resort in Bel Air and online at shantycreek.com.
Submit your photo for the 3rd annual Traverse City Record Eagle Fishing Photo Contest for your chance to win prizes. Whether you are fishing in a lake or river, for bluegill, bass, or perch, we want to see your fishing photo. Submit one photo per category from now through noon on June 21st. Winners will be announced on Sunday, June 30th in the Sunday edition of the Traverse City Record Eagle and on the Record Eagle page on Facebook. Enter now at record-eagle.com/fishing photo contest.
It's time to fly. Start your next comfortable, convenient journey from Northern Michigan's hometown airport, Cherry Capital Airport in Traverse City. TVC makes your trip easier with affordable terminal-adjacent parking and all the friendly airport services without all the crowds. Fly from Cherry Capital Airport to your dream destination on Allegiant, American, Delta, Sun Country, and United. Visit tvcairport.com and fly with TVC. Cherry Capital Airport in Traverse City.
Catch all the excitement of Tigers baseball on WGRY 101.1, sponsored in part by your McLean's Ace Hardware on South James Street in Grayling, your local helpful hardware folks, and Y101, Up North Sports Radio in central northern Michigan.
Welcome back to Up North Sports Radio's Friday Faceoff, brought to us by Cherry Capital Airport, TVC. It's tvcairport.com to find the flights in and out of 20 nonstop flights now out of Cherry Capital Airport. Rich Calkins, Jerry Coyne in studio. And Rich, I know you've got some high school updates. I wanted to briefly mention we talked about the fantastic golf offerings at Shanty Creek. There is a big golf tournament going on. The PGA Tour right now is at Muirfield in Columbus, Ohio. It's the Memorial Golf Tournament. If you can find it on YouTube, they had a memorial for the young man who took his life.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah. And it's heart-wrenching.
I can imagine.
The players that got up and spoke, and Scotty Scheffler did very eloquently, but he broke down and cried. And yet I started to understand a little bit about why this is so upset. I mean, it's always upsetting when somebody in the prime of their life takes their lives.
Yes.
But, everyone on the PGA Tour at least understands the mental strain of trying to be a great golfer. I mean, there's some guys like Rory and Scheffler and these guys have accumulated enough money and everything else that they don't play under the amazing stress that these golfers do.
Yeah, these other guys that don't have huge contracts with shoe deals and clubs
private jets, and they're playing paycheck to paycheck. Now it's a lot of money, but it's a lot of money when you play well. When you don't make a cut, you don't make anything.
That's right. Yeah, that's money. That's expenditure to the negative there when you're flying into these tournaments. Yeah. JC, I can only imagine, like you said, these guys that are just trying to get to, like you said, finish in a top 10 or top 15 where they make some good money, because there's no guarantee that the next is going to continue.
No, and Grayson Murray, who had gone through that a period as a professional player where wasn't making cuts, wasn't making money, turned his life around, stopped drinking, won the Sony Open in Hawaii this year, played in his first Masters. He was gotten all the way to the 52nd highest ranked player in the world, and then takes his own life. So, I mean, it was maybe it's not, it's pretty emotional. I wanted to mention it, and it's a great golf tournament. I played that golf course. And next week is the U.S. Open, by the way.
Okay, that's Jack's tournament, right? That's his course down there.
Jack Nicklaus, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, but as you mentioned, JC, a couple of Grayling Vikings won state championships in track and field last weekend down just north of Grand Rapids. Rylan Finstrom won again.
Yeah.
She's a former state champ. She took first in the discus and second in the shot put. She's a high school All-American that's going to continue to throw the shot and the discus at Michigan State University.
Yeah, I know she had a lot of scholarship offers.
Yeah.
I remember talking to her father, like Kentucky, She had a number of D1 opportunities.
SEC schools that were willing to. And if you are able to make a track team in an SEC school, that's a big deal for sure.
Yeah, but good for her.
Yeah, congratulations. So, and also Drew Moore won the state championship in the 3200. That's Andy's kid. That's 2 miles for everyone not with the metric system. But he's he's going to be running at the Citadel. He's going to a military school.
Wow.
So, yes.
He'll probably be wrestling there, too.
Yeah. So congratulations to Drew Moore, Ryland Finstrom, and also the Grayling baseball and softball team both won districts last Saturday.
Yep.
So congratulations.
What's the latest on the Gaylord girls?
Gaylord girls, I happened to have it pulled up on my computer.
I knew you did.
They were the #1 ranked team all season long in Division II. They won their district, not surprising, as they're going to play in regionals in Cadillac tomorrow as they take on Essexville Garber.
Okay.
And so the team down by the Bay City Thumb area. And in the other side of that bracket is Escanaba and Freeland. That will be determined tomorrow. The championship will be determined tomorrow.
Well, those girls are going for two in a row for state championship in softball.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to mention. I don't have it up yet, but I will. The Joburg Lewiston girls were the #2 ranked team in Division IV this year.
Okay.
So they had a great season. And again, as I continue, I will be.
Usually it's the St. Mary's girls that have a really good softball team.
Yeah.
I haven't heard much about the Snowbird boys, who have a good baseball program, but they may not have had the same type of talent that they normally do.
But it's been amazing how long a run that they've put together really good baseball teams.
Oh yeah, making it to the quarterfinals like 6-8 years in a row.
Yeah.
We've got the NHL Stanley Cup Finals start tomorrow with another ridiculously long layoff. Yes. The longest travel in the history of the NHL Finals, 3,249 miles apart from Edmonton to Miami.
Wow. Yeah, now that you say it, unique. That goal that McDavid in the first period the other night, in tight space, the way that was just unbelievable.
Yeah, I really want to see a great series.
Yeah.
Edmonton is obviously not nearly as deep as the Panthers, but both of these teams have gotten unbelievable goaltending.
They have.
It's kind of like there's a similarity between the Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals. Edmonton's got the 2 best players in the series, just like Dallas does.
Right.
Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic are probably the 2 best players in the series, but then the Celtics have the next 6.
Right.
And I'd say the same thing is probably true between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. Draisaitl and McDavid are the 2 best players and then the Panthers might have the next 8.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they just
Panthers roll lines.
They do. They are a good team. When you think of the Panthers, when you watch them, you're just like you said, when they're rolling their lines over, they play the same way. It's like it's hard to deter, like going. Well, it's just like the last line.
Insert
like
player B.
Yes.
They're physical. They're fast. They have great goaltending. They are favored to win it. I just hope that Edmonton can get out and show some explosiveness, and have a good long series.
Florida has a little more experience. They were in the finals last year, didn't win it, but they do have that experience of going there. Good to have a Canadian team in the finals.
Yep.
That's been a big deal for a long time, of course. At Edmonton, of course, from back in their heyday of the Wayne Gretzky days.
Yeah.
And they were a dominant team for years and years.
It'll be interesting to see what the television ratings will be like.
Mm-hmm. And that starts tomorrow night.
That's tomorrow night, on ESPN, which is did ESPN run this finals last year? I think, that was their first year to have them. So they'll obviously get a few more eyeballs, but, you and I watch that Get Up show pretty much every morning, And although I haven't been because I taped Scott Van Pelt, and he's been on every night for the last 2 weeks.
Yes, yeah.
So I don't have to listen to Mike Greenberg. I can't stand the guy. I like the show, but I can't stand him. Anyways, they talk about hockey for like 90 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, it's very little.
Yeah.
Very little discussion on
And
hockey.
obviously their research tells them that it's all football and NBA.
It is.
They do more WNBA than they do NHL.
Oh, yeah. They do. Absolutely. Yeah, that's, like you said, other metrics are saying people want to hear about this, but and much less baseball coverage, too. Now that we're getting into they're going to have to cover it because it's going to be the only sport going soon, and so they will.
Well, the Yankees are playing. The Yankees and the Dodgers are playing great baseball. You'd think there'd be more eyeballs on it.
And you had Paul Skeens, the hottest pitcher in baseball for the Pittsburgh Pirates now, the young stud from LSU, go up against Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, struck him out on 3 pitches the first time they faced him. Then Ohtani got a home run the next time, and then doubled the next time after that.
Dead center field, hit it right. And like, all right, you got me once.
Kaboom.
You're not going to get me again. But that was a great matchup.
Yeah. It's funny that there's not enough eyeballs on baseball. Like the Dallas Cowboys, no matter what, they get coverage on.
Absolutely. They can win 2 games a year, and they'll still be covered.
But the Texas Rangers, which are in they're in Arlington, which is right next to Dallas.
Some are real.
I don't even know if I think they got mentioned that they won the World Series Friday.
I don't even think most of Dallas knows that the Texas Rangers won a World Series.
No, there was some looks. Dallas lost Game 7 to Edmonton. Mm-hmm. There was a good opportunity that the Dallas Mavericks and the Dallas Stars were going to be in the finals. So people are like going, okay, the Rangers won the World Series. Can the Mavericks win an NBA championship and the Stars win an NHL and the Cowboys haven't won since 1995?
Right.
Yeah. Good for Jerry Jones.
Yeah, exactly. And good. All those free agent signings they had for Dallas this year.
Oh, yeah, we're
none.
Hey, very quickly we'll get out of here with this. The Lions play the Cowboys again.
They do.
In Dallas again.
Again, yes. How
does that happen? This is like 4 years in a row.
I know it. It seems like we go to Dallas every year. They might as well be in the division. It's true. It's like it's a regular. I mean, you mark it down. We're going to Dallas every year.
All right, that's going to do it for us here on Up North Sports Radio's Friday Faceoff. Don't forget, here tonight at 6:40, the Tigers take on the Milwaukee Brewers. Tomorrow and Sunday at 9 o'clock, you'll be able to listen to Finding Fairways, our locally produced golf show. You can also watch all of this stuff on the Facebook page, upnorthsportsradio.com, if your vision is blurry and you don't have to look at our faces.
It's always best.
Yes. Thanks for Cherry Capital Airport for supporting this radio program. Back to CBS Sports.
Radio's NBA Finals coverage, which is damn cool. Good morning, George Sedano. So tell me, I want to talk about you. What did it feel like to be a sideline reporter at the NBA Finals? Is this your first time?
Yeah, it's just the first time, Dylan. Thanks for having me on. First time being part of the Finals broadcast. Obviously, you and I have been at a million NBA Finals over the years, covering games in different capacities. But yeah, this is the first time I've been on a broadcast.
Dude, that is, for those of you listening who don't know, that is a major career accomplishment and very, very cool. George, in that third quarter, right before, let's say, Kyrie missed that three that could have made it a 6-point game, as you sort of felt the air go out of the Boston Garden, was there any point in your duties as a sideline reporter at the NBA Finals where you thought, oh, hell, maybe the Mavs are actually going to take a 29-point deficit and turn it into a game here? Maybe they're going to win this thing.
That was it right there. And Kyrie missed a number of shots in that stretch. And not just Kyrie, but a bunch of the Mavericks, basically, missed a bunch of shots that could have continued to lower that deficit. And they were good looks. So they just didn't fall, unfortunately. And I'm not saying every shot that they took was great, because there was a stretch in that third quarter when the lead ballooned back up to close to 20 for the Celtics that – I remember being in one of the huddles, and Jared Dudley, former champion with the Los Angeles Lakers from the bubble season, is an assistant coach, and basically back then everyone used to say he was an assistant coach, even though he was a player on that Lakers team. He was getting into the players saying, guys, we got to have better shot selection. We can't just keep rushing shots. Like, we got to do what we're supposed to do, to be able to get the best shots available, because we put up 3 consecutive terrible shots. And that was when the lead went from, I guess it was 9 back up to about like 16 very quickly for Boston, and then it ended up being basically 20 almost by the end of the third quarter again, which was only 1 point less than the deficit that they had at halftime. So Dallas put up a pretty good fight for that third quarter for a stretch, but Boston was just too much to overcome.
George Sedano on the show. George, as you noted, you've covered, and I have too, a million of these things, and you know that sometimes there's overreaction, and it's hard to break away from recency bias, and it's one game, things can change. So in that context, but knowing as you do that Kyrie Irving has not won a game in a very long time in Boston since his ugly divorce from the Celtics, what's your confidence level that there are going to be enough games in the series where Kyrie Irving and the role players around him and Luka Doncic play well enough that you think the Mavs make a series of this and have a chance to win at least enough games that we're not sure who's going to win the whole thing by the time it's said and done?
Well, Game 2 will be really telling. And I don't think they need to win the game per se, although it would go a long way to help perception for us to feel that this could be a longer series. But even if it's just competitive, I would feel good about their chances of winning a game or more than a game when they go back home to Dallas. Because being down 0-2 going back home is, it's not the easiest thing in the world to overcome, but it's been overcome before. It's not like it's something that we don't have precedent for. But if you get blown out in back-to-back games, it just feels like maybe that task is a little taller, and maybe that the moment is a little too bright. Now, again, circumstances will dictate that. I just think that Dallas can ill afford a game where you get only a Luka game or only a Kyrie game, or you got to have at least a Luka Kyrie game or a Luka role player game. Like, you got to have 2 of the 3 components working on offense, particularly for you to have a chance to win a game against this Boston Celtics team, especially now with Porzingis back, because all week long I kept talking about it, Bill, that Porzingis is the key to this thing. And not just offensively where, he would have a potential obvious advantage, because they don't really have a natural person to guard him, particularly out on the perimeter, but defensively. What would he look like defensively? Because I felt like they were going to attack him. And they did. They did attack him. And he passed the test yesterday in a big way.
I mean, he's extraordinary. The points that he scored in the minutes that he had, the rim protection, maybe not as celebrated, but just his ability to pull either Gafford or Lively away from the basket and create some easier looks in the paint. He is incredible. Drew Holiday's incredible. I mean, I won't go through the whole roster, but this is the first time, George, I've seen the Celtics in person in a really long time this season. And I was saying earlier in the show, it reminds me of the first time I watched Shohei Ohtani or Tiger Woods or Leo Messi. I knew. But then you see it, and it's, oh, my God, this thing is impressive. For people that haven't seen Boston up close and personal, how good defensively, offensively, how balanced, how dangerous is this team compared to other great teams that you've covered over the years, at least the eye test?
Well, I think that they're as good a group as I've seen probably since, trying to think. They're not as talented as the Warriors KD teams, okay? But I would say that they're maybe just slightly a notch below that. Like, that's probably as far back as I'd have to go, which isn't that far, but it's still a pretty good amount of time, right? Because there's not a weakness on this team. They have the 2 guys, the Jays, obviously, and they don't have to carry the team in a way that most stars have to carry their team, especially when they've got Porzingis back, because they've got Drew Holiday, a guy who's a champion, who could go for 30 on any given night. Derek White is another guy that we've seen in this postseason that could go for 30 in a given night. They've got so many guys that they can throw at you. And then, of course, the ageless Al Horford, who continues to play a big role for them. And then the three-point shooting, Hauser, who was terrible in the conference finals, is shooting the ball well last night. Peyton Pritchard, who did not have a great game, but he's certainly ignitable. they just have a really well-rounded group. Brad Stevens has done a really good job of putting this group together, and they're as complete a group as I've seen in a while, I would say.
George Sedano from ESPN. George, you brought up Derek White, and I had forgotten about him. And I know it was early. He hit two pretty big threes in the first quarter, if I'm remembering right, where it was just there were big momentum moments. I mean, this team is loaded with talent up and down that roster, as you noted. So, and I'm curious who you think on this team, if we get into close games, the closer is for Boston, or whether that even matters, whether they need to follow the traditional narrative that somebody's got to be the guy down 2 with 10 seconds left. Is there a closer? Do they need a closer?
I don't think so, because, and I'll tell you why. So during the regular season, they were not a great quote-unquote clutch team. And for those that don't know, that's when the game is within 5 points, under 5 minutes to go. They were not this team that was great during the regular season in those positions. By the way, they were also not in that position a ton, okay, because they were basically blowing teams out for the most part during the season. They won the most games this season for a reason. But in the playoffs, the few times it had happened, they lost a couple of those games. The Miami game, they lost one of those Cleveland games. But then in the Cleveland series, while it didn't necessarily finish 5 points or less, they were in some of those situations, and you started to see them play better. Granted, no Donovan Mitchell in that scenario. Okay, fine, no big deal. So we'll kind of cross that off the list. In the Indiana series, though, you may remember Game 1, they basically made Indiana vomit all over themselves at the end of the games, because it wasn't just their offense to close, it was their defense that allowed them to close. Tyrese Halliburton had big turnovers at the end of Game 1. Indiana also had some self-inflicted wounds. Remember, they didn't foul with 8 seconds to go when they could have, when Jaylen Brown hit that big shot, on the inbound. Now, that's a tough spot because the way he got it, it was obviously already behind the three-point line, and he was in the corner and kind of trapped. So a difficult spot there. But Indiana also didn't call timeout to advance the ball after the fact when they turned the ball over in that scenario. So there were some self-inflicted wounds. Nonetheless, though, their defense and their offense came through in Game 1. And as that series went on, even though Tyrese Halliburton wasn't involved, they also came up big, down, I believe, 9 points in one of those games, in Game 3 in Indiana with 2 minutes and 35 seconds to go. Indiana should have won probably 3 of those games, and Boston came back to win in those clutch moments. But again, it was dismissed because in 2 of those games, Halliburton wasn't around. So I just think that there isn't a need necessarily for those close games for them to have a closer, because it's either their defense that becomes the catalyst or the group as a collective plays really well. In those instances in Indiana, Derek White had some big moments. Jaylen Brown had some big moments. It's not like Jason Tatum didn't have big moments. It wasn't all necessarily scoring, but big rebounds, big assists, et cetera. So as a collective, they're just really freaking good, man.
They are, and to see it in person. I'm Bill Ryder, George Sedano, hanging out with us, the uber-talented radio host and ESPN NBA reporter, including ESPN's radio finals sideline reporter, which is very, very cool. George, let me ask you kind of a geeky question here, and I certainly have a view, but I want yours. Luka Doncic this year had the 20th highest usage rate in the history of the sport in a single season. For people who don't know, basically how much he had the ball in his hands, how much the offense went through him. And if you look at that list of the guys with the 20th highest usage rates in history, not one of those players have ever won an NBA championship. Most have not made it to the playoffs or out of the first round. It includes Joel Embiid multiple times, James Harden multiple times. Jordan's on there several times in years where he did not have a lot of playoff success. And I thought, at least to my eye, in these playoffs, to get here, Luka got into the offense more quickly before this series. The ball moved pretty well, I thought, for Dallas. In this last game, as you know, they had only 9 assists. And while Luka put up some points and had 10 marvelous points in that third quarter where it looked like maybe single-handedly he could just will his team back into that game, it was a pretty stagnant offense. He didn't get a lot of help, but there might be an argument that he did not run the offense in a way that helped that. Was last night's hero ball and anemic offense outside of Luka more of just his guys didn't show up problem from your view? Or was there something about Luka retreating back into iso ball, high usage rate, and not trusting the ball moving for Dallas the way it has in this postseason?
I think it started with the former and then became the latter. And I think Boston's defense really dictated that. And the guys just weren't hitting shots. Boston was contesting at a really high rate. They weren't getting the open looks for the most part outside of Dallas looked good the first couple of minutes of the game, and then the Boston avalanche basically happened there, and a lot of that was predicated on their defense. So what happened was, and Luka, by the way, started 3 of 9 in the game too, along with Kyrie. They did not have a great start to the game. So it was basically Boston's defense dictating that. And then when guys were hitting shots, I think he just decided, hey, I got to take over. But yeah, 9 assists is the lowest total they've had all season. 14 was the previous low for them in a game, so that's a significant drop when you think about it. And Luka with only the 1 assist, that's the lowest I think he may have ever had this season for sure. So I'd have to double check on that beyond
that sounds
this
right.
particular season. Yeah.